All right, everybody, welcome back to the Most Valuable Podcast. I am Mark Williams with my colleague,
Victor Castro.
and we're just two dudes who do real estate for a living. And today we have a special guest, the man behind the camera, the person you don't see doing all of our cool listing videos, educational videos. He goes by Shadography. If you're not following him on Instagram, we'll have him plugged. We know him as Alex. But,
or Shadow.
Welcome to the show, Shadow, Alex.
Thank you, guys. I'm flattered.
Yeah,
I'm flattered.
You are our first guest of the Most Valuable Podcast, and we wanted to switch some things up. We wanted to start bringing some people in. We're going to be bringing people in the industry, whether they're fellow real estate agents, they're people that help us with our business, or are doing a totally different thing outside of real estate as well. And we actually want to bring you, our potential client, or our clients that are listening, onto this show. So if you want to be a guest, log on to our Instagram at the MVP Real Estate, shoot us a DM, and we will get you on the podcast.
Let's get you scheduled.
Yes. So
it wouldn't be a Mark's video if there wasn't a siren. If there wasn't a siren in the background. I don't know if you guys can hear that, but that's like a typical those are things that happen behind the scenes that you guys sometimes don't know about. If you knew the amount of clips that we have with all these sounds and stuff, it's just insane.
We have a running joke. Every time I do a video, Victor, and I know we've been lately doing a lot of videos together, but every time I do a video, it could be dead silent. We're getting ready to set up. Then there's like a helicopter, an ambulance, the gardener down the street. It's like without fail, it happens every single time.
Or the other thing is also the weather. When we get to the property, we film the property. When it's time to film Mark,
it starts raining.
It starts raining. I don't know where. Mid-July,
it's so true. Hey, we make it work, right? We make it work. But we wanna get into it. I know, Victor, you got a couple questions to ask Alex, but we're gonna get in a little bit about what brought Alex into the industry, real estate, cinematography.
Yeah.
He does some camera work. He's also involved in his church, which will let him tell you a little bit about that. And he does some amazing pictures on his Instagram. He has an eye for catching a lot of strong moments during those, during the church, during the
worship.
It's
worship,
heartfelt moments that, have to be in that video. He does a great job of making sure it happens. So
thank you.
Nice. So Victor, let's interrogate him, bro.
Yeah. So Shadow,
I'm scared.
Shadow, how long have you?
Hold on. I want to say something. Don't make fun of my accent. This is my first ever interview, like fully in English. I'm a native Spanish speaker, so if you guys hear an accent, that's why.
Well, the reason this podcast is in English is because I'm the gringo of the group right here, and no hablo español.
Yeah. No worries, bro. So look, Shadow, what made you get into the business? Tell us, our viewers, what made you get into the business as far as videography, photography. Where did your passion for that grow?
It's funny because he did mention church. So when I first started doing this, 10 years ago, I started in 2014. My main thing was music. I went to school for recording arts, how to know how to record people vocally, and how to mix vocals, how to master, and all of that. But I wanted to make my own music, so that happened right in that age where you had to kind of music, photo, video, it all kind of linked up. So I remember that when I first got to church, I started serving, and I actually wanted to start serving, and I didn't have a ministry to serve on, like a department where to serve. So I asked the pastor, and then he told me, well, the only thing that's free here is this camera. And then he gifted me that camera. And then he told me, you could go ahead and take photos of all the events that we have here and start posting them on Facebook. Because back then, Instagram wasn't really a thing back in 2014. And if it was, it wasn't well known. So I started getting to take photos little by little. then I'm a really like if I don't have the information, I'll go get that
You're gonna
information.
learn the information.
Yeah, I'll
Yeah.
go get the information from YouTube, books, or anything. I keep taking classes here and there, just to kind of like innovate, because like the photography world, bro, like it's insane out there. There's always a new thing coming up. There's always a new program, a new camera. So I remember that I used to like that 2014 to 2015. It was a whole bunch of YouTube tutorials. All you see on my feed will be like how to take photos at night, how to take photos in low light, because that was one of my biggest things. Because the church setting is like
It's
tends to be a
dark.
little
It's a little
bit
darker.
darker.
Yeah.
So it started like back then, and then after that, I just grew a passion for it, and photography kind of blended into videography, and the rest is history.
What is the ministry or the church that you serve at?
It's called production.
Okay.
So it's pretty much like everything that has to do with cameras, like photos, video, everything that you see on social media posted. That's what I do.
And what's the name of the church?
It's Palabra de Dios and Legendary. It's like
Oh, okay.
it's two ministries in one.
Nice, nice. And that's in Antioch, right?
Antioch,
Nice, man. Nice.
501 Outer Center Drive. That's my peeps.
Yeah, come check them out if you're interested. I do follow a couple of the besides Shadow. I do follow a couple of the other guys that go to this church, and not gonna lie, man, it looks it definitely looks like it's worth checking out if
Yeah.
if you're looking for a ministry or a church to go to. Definitely check that one out. And they do English and Spanish,
Spanish, yeah.
in services, right?
Yeah, we have Spanish service at 11:15 and English service at 9:30 every Sunday.
That's
Nice.
awesome.
So
Awesome.
we probably have some people listening right now, Shadow, that are like, I love taking pictures. I'm trying to get into this. If there was one thing you know now that you would share with maybe someone trying to start in the field of cinematography or photography, what do you think the most important tip you can give them?
It's just be genuine about what you create. Like,
Okay.
there's a lot of trends out there, a lot of stuff that's happening, like, the trendy songs, all the AI, like, you could go crazy about it.
Oh
Like,
yeah.
we have baby talking videos. I'm not gonna say who did that, but but all of these things, like, it's so easy to follow the trend. But the beauty of photography is to capture that moment when it happens, to keep it forever.
Hmm.
So like sometimes like for like when you're trying to do like all that trendy stuff, you tend to miss the very important moments, like because you're like trying to do the trendy video, the trendy song and everything.
Yeah.
But sometimes like I've seen fellow photographers that they forgot to probably take that shot with of the groom and the mom, or vice versa, like the bride and the dad, just because they were so focused about like doing the one video. So like don't miss those important moments. Like what I always do is like every time that I go to a place, I either write it down or make a mental note, like, okay, this is what I need to shoot. That's why we always have like the little meeting that we have, where the text message where you
Yeah.
actually share your vision. So once I get to the place, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna film the house first, and if there's a storyline behind it, then we go ahead and do that after, but in chronological order.
Yeah.
There's
So
definitely structure to what you do.
And that's what I was about to say, Victor. Is like, me and Victor are very two strong-minded individuals, and Alex be pushing back. If he don't like something, he's gonna let us know. But you know what? We appreciate that, because that's the type of work environment. We're not the experts in filming. We're not the experts in pictures. We may have, to your point, Alex, an idea of what we want to get across, the message we want to get across, a shot or something of the feature of the home we want to highlight. But we pay Shadow. That's what we pay
Yeah.
him for. Like, and that's something I would say when you're working with other trades in your profession. You're hiring experts to be experts. Let them do their job. Give your input, but let them do their job. Huh? You like
yeah,
that?
100%.
Yeah.
No, no, no,
Alex is like,
no.
Alex is like, I hope every real estate agent that is listening to Mark right now that uses me listens to this
Yeah,
message.
because I don't want to like I don't want to kind of like bash on people and stuff, but that's something that really happens. Like sometimes, like that's one thing I love about working with you guys, because you do let the creator create, and that's what we do. Like, it's like if I go and try to sell a home, I'm not gonna be able to do that because I don't know the process.
Yeah.
Like, you might have an idea, and I will make the vision come to true. But the thing is, like, sometimes, like, you get to a place, then the realtor is like kind of asking you, like, did you shoot this? Did you shoot that? I'm like, I shot like 100+ houses throughout this 2 years.
This is not my first rodeo.
Like, no, and it's not to sound braggy or anything, but
No.
like, I've just done it for so long that I know. That, I always ask, what are the highlights for you? What are the highlights of the house? What
Yeah.
do you want me to film? That's a question that I always ask, because I feel like it's very important to, like, get those shots that the agent wants.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like, I've done it so many times that I over film sometimes, just to, like, make sure that
Just
I
to
get
make
that
sure.
shot.
Yeah.
But, like, it's sometimes it is just kind of annoying that they're like asking you, did you film the kitchen? Did you film the living room? Did you film the backyard?
It's like
I'm like,
stay in your lane.
But the
yeah,
thing,
right, yeah.
and what I would say to your point, and Victor can say this too, is I think that's what separates like those that are like an expert from someone that's more like an order taker.
Mhm.
And I like working with experts. It's the same thing like when we get hired, we care highly about what our clients' expectations are.
Mhm.
We set clear expectations. We listen to what they're telling us about their home, what they're proud of, stuff like that. They're gonna have some ideas. People have ideas of what they feel is like the highlight of their home.
Mhm.
And we're not there to say, and I think to your point, what you're getting at is you're not going to say, no, that's
Mhm.
not a highlight. It's
Mhm.
like, okay, cool. Let me see how I can incorporate this. However, this is what's going to sell this home. And I think that's where, like, having that professional courage, right, to say, hey, this is, you're hiring me for my expertise. It's like going to the dentist. Like, I went to the dentist and I need some dental work, right? But I got to pay for it. And they're like, well, you need this to get done. I'm not going to be like, are there any alternatives? Yeah, the alternative is my tooth's going to fall out. Like,
Yeah.
there's no, like, sometimes I pay money for them to tell me what needs to be done. Right. And it's kind of what we get paid for. And in your respect, I'm paying you money to know what's going to get done.
Right. It's like we were having a conversation the other day, and you're like, agents need to stop diluting the industry, and it's like it goes to that.
Yeah.
Right. You can't just say like, well, I'm gonna sell your $1 million home if we do low level service. It's like it doesn't go. Right.
Yeah.
It all goes hand to hand. Like, like, one thing that I really admire about you guys is the staging, the love that you put behind the home. Like, sometimes it will be easy for you guys to just step in and, like, you just put a little bit of furniture and, like, call it a day. But, like, we just did a video about your property, like, that you sold in wait, what was it?
Fairfield.
Fairfield. Like, it was like you took literally the whole floor, you took it all off, you did new painting, you did like a whole
There
remodel.
was a process
the
to
house.
it. Yeah.
So not a lot of people takes that it adds that value to to the listings and stuff. And I think that's what makes a difference. Like, and how long did that home last in the market?
7 days.
Exactly. So, like, yeah, it might have taken you a little longer to get to the final product, but then,
Yeah.
at the same time, like, the results are there.
Yeah.
So, like, and that's what people don't get sometimes. Like, like, yeah, you could go ahead and grab your phone, do like a easy edit on CapCut, but that's not gonna have the same type of impact. Like, cheap work won't get you
Equals
like good results.
cheap results.
You get what you pay for.
Yeah.
You get what you pay for. And on the topic of pay, so before you got into I know you went for your ministry and you're like, you're gonna be you're running the production. What were you doing to pay the bills before now you are 100% Shadow Films.
Yeah.
Right?
That's
Shadow Films is your business. If you are in our office, you'll see a nice
Huge
little banner that I'm not gonna say whose idea it was, but there's a banner out there because Alex does have office space. We actually share our office with him because we like working with him and in the environment. He helps us out. But before Shadow Films was paying the bills, what were you doing before? And tell us what you were doing before, and what was that moment that made you decide to go all in into shadow films?
Oh, that's a story.
Hey, we got 15 more minutes, bro.
Yeah,
I got a pretty cool story about
Yeah.
all that too.
So like I basically I used to work in customer service, but I had to work my way up to it. So when I first started, I worked at this hotel. It's a Hilton Garden Inn in Emerald, California. I think it's still there. And I used to work in the kitchen, cleaning the kitchen and stuff like and I used to clean the kitchen at night, like overnight, and then
Hmm.
work photography during the day.
Got you.
So like any gig that I could get, like, well, I have this little burn here. I burned my hand with the chemical like the first day at work. It was, and then I told my mom because my mom used to work at the hotel.
Yeah.
So I told my mom, you get me in and I will find my way to get to the front desk, which is what I wanted to do, like customer service.
Got you.
So she got me in. So within a month, like the whole position at the front desk open, and so happened that every time that I clocked in for my shift for the cleaning gig, there was always like this older lady that didn't know how to use the computer, and I always been like very tech
Yeah.
savvy and stuff. So I ran into her a couple of times where like she had like computer issues, and I would just get there and like fix them real quick for her, and she was just impressed about it. And then I told her like, hey, if you ever have a position open here at the front desk, I would love to take it and apply. So like 2 weeks after like the last encounter I had with her, turns out that she was the one quitting. It's crazy. So like she quit, and then I applied.
You were her replacement.
Pretty much.
Yeah. Well, you knew how to use a computer.
Pretty
That's
much.
funny how that works.
Yeah.
You gotta
So-
you gotta know what you're
No.
doing to be able to.
But this is the crazy thing. I was just doing something nice to her.
Yes.
And she recommended me.
Oh, nice.
So like I didn't even have to go to an interview.
Oh, wow.
Like she was there for like 20 plus years.
See?
So I didn't know who I was helping. I was just helping her
Just
because like she
helping
was
her out.
struggling.
Yeah.
Uh
Doing a good deed pays off, right?
Yeah.
Just being a good person
and that's something that I always go by. Like, it doesn't matter what you believe in, like believe in karma, God, anything that you believe. If you do something good will ripple out of it,
Yeah.
and I've seen it like over and over and over again. So after that, I started working at the front desk. It was a long commute because I lived in Antioch. Back in the days
Yeah.
before pandemic, it used to be a longer
A
commute.
lot longer.
Now a lot of people works from home, so it's a little lighter. So when I first started doing that, like that, I started like getting a little bit more money, and then I started buying more equipment, little by little, little by little. Then on the weekends, I would do like weddings, quinceañeras, and all of that. So I was kind of making my name in the industry.
Okay.
Like 2018, that's when I actually like started getting more clients to the point that I had to take less hours on my previous job. So I started doing it. So I was like, at one point, I'm gonna have to like stop doing the
The
front
regular
desk
job. Okay.
and then and go full on. So that was 2020. So starting 2020, my purpose was to like, just go full on the photography, videography business. So it's crazy because like so February hit, and then one of my grandmas passed away.
Oh.
And then March hits again, and then my other grandma, she passed away too. And then I traveled to El Salvador. I keep hearing about COVID, and I'm like, I had that year. I had all alone. I had 32 weddings lined up for the whole year. So for the whole remaining of the year, so I was like, I went to El Salvador March 12th. I will never forget that. I landed, and as soon as I landed, they closed the airport, like completely closed it. So anyone,
so you
that-
were stuck in El
no,
Salvador.
yeah, I was stuck in El Salvador for 4 months.
Mm.
So, and I was like, what the heck am I gonna do? I had quit my job,
Yeah.
and then I recently that's when the whole Whole Foods market came about. So I had just like gotten that job a few weeks before, because the only reason why I got that job, and I'm gonna be very, this is probably the first time that I actually talk about this, is because they gave you a discount on the groceries.
Oh, there you
So-
go.
Hey, That's smart, man.
Yeah, but then
I
I
mean-
it started like a very like a 2-day job.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
just
yeah.
wanted to
It's
get
part-time,
I
yeah,
just
yeah.
wanted to get the discount.
Yeah.
So, but turns out that when I came back, that's what paid the bills.
Yeah.
So, but I was still doing photography like here and there.
Well, because all the weddings got canceled.
Yeah.
You weren't filming my wedding, but my
Yeah.
wedding was canceled
Yeah.
that week of COVID
Yeah.
as
Yeah.
well,
Yeah,
right?
I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, those industries took big hits
Yeah.
because you can't do gatherings, like, and you made that leap. All right, I'm all in. I got 32 weddings. This is gonna be a good year.
Yeah.
Psych.
Yeah.
You know.
That's exactly how it felt. So, that's when real estate came about.
Okay, that's what I was gonna get
so-
into. Like,
Yeah.
Okay, this is a cool story. Maybe you can start it off. Maybe I can add to it. But Shadow's first video in real estate was my video.
Well, yeah. Well,
Right?
in your company, like when you guys
Gotcha.
were in that company. But I used to shoot my first video was Diego
with
because
Diego, right?
yeah,
Okay.
I started filming with him, but I didn't have a direction of what I was doing. I was just getting to the
Freelance,
house,
just like
it was
whatever.
like
Yeah.
whatever comes out. He liked it, and then eventually I started to learning about the industry. Like this is where it's important that like I always say, like if you don't know it, there's always a tutorial to like
And that was
learn how
when
to do
you
it.
have to get
and-
familiar
yeah,
with what
and
you're
I know
doing.
I haven't
Yeah.
followed up with Diego in a while, but that's when he was like,
Yeah,
and he's a really good agent. He's super busy, and that's when he was like busy.
busy. Yeah.
Okay, so
That
you
was,
probably were like,
that year he sold about 72 homes. I
yeah,
believe.
yeah.
Yeah.
I remember I was like, dude, who is this guy?
Yeah, so- But the thing is, like, I started filming with him. Then, for some reason, I landed on the team that you guys were previously in. And yeah, the first set of videos that I filmed was your guys. I don't know if you remember that interview that you had. That I messed up with the mic placement, and it was just it was.
Yeah,
just-
Which video was that?
So that came after the welcome home because you did a welcome home for me.
Yeah, that's
did a
right.
welcome home.
Yes. That was your
you
first.
mean when me and Victor did
Look.
in the office?
yeah,
Bro,
Look,
that video, one of those videos went like viral like instantly.
yeah, but
Yeah.
for me, it was not my greatest work. Because for me, the audio is like going
Yeah,
to school for
yeah.
You
that.
live, you learn.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
live, you learn. So, like you said,
Wait,
you
what
weren't
was
a
that video though? I'm trying to remember.
Dixon. It was in Dixon, California. I was giving keys to clients, and
What was their name?
it was Brenda and Carlos.
Yes, I remember now. Yeah. It was the guy with that they met at the elevator with the band and stuff.
Yes.
Okay, got it.
Yes,
Yeah, I
that was them.
remember.
That was your first ever welcome home, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yeah,
So you used to do work for Diego,
but it was more listings.
but exactly.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it was a different line of work. You weren't making that connection with our clients.
yeah,
Your first connection with clients buying real estate was with
yeah, with you guys.
with my
That's cool.
clients,
Yeah.
which is the backstory, and I think that's really cool because I felt like you were a natural at it, bro. You knew what moments to capture, and I think you get that from the weddings because a wedding is so important too. Like
Yeah.
that's one of the most important
Well,
times in your life.
I would say like two of the wedding will always go first. When your children are burned. That's the second one, and then buying a house.
Yeah.
It's probably
Yes.
the third one.
Yes.
In that specific order. And also like it comes the storytelling. That's where it comes. Like that's another thing. Like I'm like kind of rooted to do that type of video because I feel like that's how you connect with people's emotions when they're like trying to buy a home. Showing, yeah, because you can show the luxury side of real estate and stuff like and do all these AI effects and stuff. But like when you make a video that's raw, shaky, like even a little shaky, but like with the people showing like the real
Emotion.
emotions, that's when you're gonna get
Yeah.
through the people watching on the other side of the screen. Sometimes like it's often misunderstood that what people wants. Yeah, like it's attractive to see like a very trendy song with like a whole bunch of speed ramps here
Yeah.
and there.
And maybe make people laugh and make it all a comedy, but
Yeah, but people that's this is gonna be kind of controversial, but
we love controversy.
yeah.
Don't worry.
making people
Victor loves controversy.
making people laugh is not gonna make you money.
Nah.
Point and simple. Like that's something that's a talk that I had with you
Yes,
before.
we did.
Like I told you a couple of times, like, okay, what's the purpose of this video? If you want to get followers, then we take a different approach. If you want to get leads, however, you're gonna have to like take a different approach. And that's something that I'm always like that with my clients. Some people love it, some people hate it, but hey, I'm just being real. I'd rather tell you like the
Your honest
exact,
opinion.
yeah, my honest opinion, and then I'm not saying it because I just want to. I just don't want you to do that video. It's just because like I see what's working out there in regards of business. Because like like, and I don't say like I have my own podcast right now, so I've been putting into practice everything
Invite people to your podcast.
It's name Hablando con tu Sombra podcast. It's a Christian podcast. I have it with my friend Israel, and we just talk about like the Christian like world, but more in a fun way. That's like people often think that being a Christian is like boring and stuff, but honestly, it's a good environment to be out. The community, the everything that we do
The
as a
support.
family,
The support.
yeah,
Yeah.
like there's from Christians to Christians, like,
Yeah.
Oh, trust me, I know.
it's like everything. It's everything, but we just try to like be as helpful to the community as we can, and that's our thing. Like just do good things, and good
So
things will
and I want to, before we get into the next topic, and just if you're listening, all of Shadow's information be on the YouTube and on the podcast. I'll put it in the descriptions. All his ats, right, for Instagram, for his podcast, for to follow Shadow Films as well. But you hit on something, and you said making people laugh doesn't make you money. And I think the point where you're trying to get, I don't think it's controversial. I think the message you're saying is not being genuine to who you are doesn't make you money, because some people are just funny,
yeah.
right?
That's a bomb right there.
I would consider myself kind of funny. I'm kind of dry humor, right?
Yeah.
And we have like our buddies Matt and Roland and
I
Brooks,
was gonna say
yourself, Victor, like even you, like we have humor to us. We don't take everything so super serious. However, that comes out naturally if we're making our clients laugh, or we have an inside joke from all the homes we showed them and stuff like that, as opposed to what you're getting at is, I'm going to do this trendy video because everyone's doing it. I'm not who I am. And I don't think people realize that comes through on camera. And I think in this industry, and you see it a lot because you just don't film for us, you film for other agents and stuff like that, is in this industry, people want to work with those who they relate to. And I feel too many agents make videos to relate to other agents. They want to make other agents follow them. They want to make other agents laugh. And yes, that's from time to time, or there's venues for that. But your whole focus shouldn't be on that, because all you're going to be is 15 minutes of fame, which us old heads say. You're going to have your 15 minutes of fame on social media, and then you're going to be an afterthought. Wow, the people that are showing genuine emotion and genuinely who they are. And if you're an agent listening to this, you're going the cheap route and you're filming your welcome homes on your camera, or you're having your buddy film it, or your lender.
Cell phone pictures and stuff.
You need to hire Shadow Films, because it's going to be the best investment you make for your business. Because for us at MVP, it's a non-negotiable. People call us and use us just because they know they're going to get the welcome home photos and videos.
and
I don't care. It's no secret.
Yeah.
We're not the only ones that do it, right? And it's worth its weight in gold. Every dollar that we spend, you get your return on investment. Not even for business, but creating and capturing a moment like a wedding, the birth of your kid, and your first home forever. You are forever tied to that client, right?
Look, you got to think about it like this. Yes, you're posting it on social media. You're getting a return on your investment,
Mhm.
but do it for the client.
Yeah.
That's what we're doing it for. Look, that's why I do it. That's just straight up, because they're going to get the video, they're going to get the photography, and they're going to share it. Honestly, not just
Well, that's
with their friends as
that's
well.
the ROI I'm talking about. I'm not talking about monetary. I'm
Yeah.
just talking you creating that bond with your client for the life of them being your client, or you being in the industry. And speaking of that, so Alex, share with us what your plans are, since we are a real estate podcast, what your plans are. Are you renting? Are you looking to buy? What is in the future for Shadow Films in his real estate life?
Well, as of right now, I'm a renter, but there's a reason why. In the Latino community, usually you tend to like when you're the older sibling, you take care of the younger siblings first and your mom, and then you go last. It's not always like that, but at least that's how I was
Yeah.
raised. So pretty much, my family moved to Texas, to Houston, Texas, to be more exact. They couldn't afford to buy a home here, so they didn't want to rent anymore. They wanted to own something. And plus, we're Salvadorian. So like El Salvador is way closer to Houston. It's a
Yep.
1 hour flight. So for my mom, it was very important to be close to home. So I started like, helping my siblings. Well, to be more specific, my sister is married. Then my brother and like my other sister, they live with my mom.
Yeah.
So in the two processes, I had to help them with, you just kind of like be on the loan because I had the better credit. So now that I'm off the whole title and everything, now I can go ahead and plan on buying something for myself.
yourself. Yeah.
So the whole plan for me since the beginning of the year was to like start saving up money to like get like a good enough down payment. I know that there's a lot of like programs, but I don't want to. I don't know if I'm wrong for that. Like you guys are gonna tell me that this right now because I can see your faces. But like I just want to be able to have like a lower payment per se, and and not have to like rely on those programs. Like if I'm
Yeah.
gonna do something, I'm gonna
So
do it.
you're talking
for
about down
myself.
payment assistance
Yeah.
programs.
I wouldn't want to use that. If it's beneficial and if someone buys it and I see the value behind it, I'm all for it. But what I'm saying is like I just want to have like a good enough down payment because I seen it with my sister, I seen it with my mom that we did like a good chunk of money for the down payment, and they see it
And it helped.
reflected on the payment.
Now,
So
are you looking to purchase here in the Bay Area or?
the initial plan was to buy something in Texas. But honestly, for a Californian out there, like in Houston, where my
Mhm.
family lives, it's a little bit more complicated than like than what I thought. So I'm thinking I'm probably gonna buy something here, like start with a little townhouse and then upgrade little by little.
Why do you find home ownership important?
Because I've seen it, like like rent just keeps going up, and then that's something that is not yours. And then when you buy a home, at least like you keep the same payment for the entire. Well, for most part, because right now with the buy downs and all of this, like you will keep the same payment throughout. Like if it's 20 years, 30 years,
Yep.
whatever it is, it's gonna be the same payment. But with rent, you never know. Like the landlord might come tomorrow and be like, "Hey,
Your
I'm
rent is up
charging you
5%.
400 more."
Yeah.
Yeah. So
And for someone like yourself and us, how is important is it to have like when you're in business for yourself, you essentially run your own bookkeeping, right?
mhm.
How important is it to have like a set expenses, no surprises in your expenses?
Trust me,
You know what I'm saying?
well,
Right?
that's another thing. Like for my business, I built it. I always want to. Okay, I know what I charge, so I always want to give that value back to the client.
Yeah.
Meaning, having good microphones, having good cameras, having the right lenses, the right equipment to deliver that type of service. Because sometimes, like a lot of people wants to make money, but they don't want to invest in their
They cut
equipment.
corners
A
and
lot
they
of
buy
time,
cheap
that's-
equipment.
I think it just someone that's came from the financial world where I used to help small businesses, and we would say, I would tell my clients or new clients while I was setting them up with their, bank accounts and credit and products and stuff for business is 6 months. Most small businesses do not make it past month 6. And now that I'm a small business myself and I've seen people come and go in this industry, a lot of it is because you don't reinvest into yourself. You may have some quick success, and then that money, then you see them driving a new car, go on a vacation. When have you seen me go on a vacation, bro? I haven't been on vacation in
No.
8 years.
Me
No.
neither.
The only vacation that I remember you had is because you're going to Southern California for a wedding.
Yeah, or something like that, right?
But it's not necessarily a vacation. Like
No.
it's not nothing like you and wife and daughter
Yeah,
alone.
yeah,
It's
exactly.
hard. Like that's the other thing. Like people think that because you're a business owner, you will have like all the time in the world. It's actually the total opposite because
100%.
everything
It's
relies
more than 40 hours.
Yeah.
It really is.
Not only that, it's like a 24/7 type, especially what you guys do. Like you will get a call on Sunday at midnight about like, hey, like I have a question for you. I'm sorry, I don't want to interrupt you in what you're doing, but you kind of are. Like,
yeah, but we had it's funny. I had someone reach out this weekend and they wanted it was a buyer consultation, and she was like, "Hey, my boyfriend's gonna. I have time." I said, "Hey, I have some time today." It was Saturday, and she was it was Friday, and she was like, "Well, what time's the latest you'll be? You can take a call." I said, "Well, my last call's at 8." She texted me back and she was like, "Oh, I didn't realize you worked that late." It's like,
Yeah.
actually, I work past 8, but
Yep.
I'm just tired of talking to people coming at 8 o'clock.
My Calendly says 8, but I've taken calls at 10 because that's when they're available.
That's what I'm saying.
Exactly.
So being a business owner doesn't mean like it's a 9 to 5. Honestly, sometimes like I always make a meme about it, but it's like I quit my 9 to 5 to be 9 to 9 nowadays.
Yeah.
And sometimes even more. Like especially usually when we do your projects, it tends to be like for the day off, like a 24-hour timeline, because like listing videos, they tend to be
A little more detailed.
a little bit more detail
Yeah.
and stuff. So but it's important to like know people out there, like it's not an easy industry. Sometimes like I've caught people like being like hecka rude to their agents, like, hey, why are you not answering, and all of this. Like you don't know what's behind, like the behind scenes. They also have families. They also have like they also have to eat. Like they also have like to have time for themselves, like just like you do.
They're
like,
humans.
Yeah, like sometimes like they don't humanize the agent because I don't know, like I don't know why people is
It's
like
just
that.
it's just how we are in this country.
Yeah.
It's very and it's cool. We adapt. Like I say, you adapt or don't.
Or get left behind.
Yeah, get left behind. But with that, speaking of time and all that, we're gonna wrap it up here. Alex, Shadow Films at Shadography 90?
No, at the Shadow Films.
At the Shadow Films.
Yeah.
And then what was the podcast again? What was the podcast again?
Hablando con tu sombra podcast.
Yes, it's in Espanol.
Spanish, yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Do some
for y'all.
English subtitles for me, please. I would
No,
like
we
to know.
do have the dubbing on
It
YouTube.
always does. Okay, cool. Want to thank you, our first guest on the Most Valuable Podcast. Any last words, Victor?
Hey, follow Shadography. Great guy.
The Shadow Film.
Great
The
friend.
The
Shadow
Shadow
Films.
Films, yeah.
Shadow Film, sorry. The Shadow.
Oh, yeah,
I
that's
know.
right.
I know you as
That's-
Shadography.
I'm rebranding. I'm
It's the
rebranding.
The rebrand. Our apologies. At the Shadow Film
At the Shadow
underscore.
Film.
Yeah.
At
there's
the
the-
Shadow Films
Underscore.
underscore. Or you know what? Just look at one of our videos. We
It
tagged
is.
them on it.
No, but you're not going to go wrong if you follow this guy. Great friend. I value everything he does for MVP and for myself and my family. So thank you,
Yeah.
man.
Awesome.
Well, it was a
And with-
pleasure.
And at Shadow Films and Victor and to all of our clients, with that,
We look forward to winning with you.